Greetings, denizens of the tri-state area. Jacob Weil here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Dragon, I know what we're going to do today. We're going to activate the Recap-inator and discuss my favorite cartoon, Phineas and Ferb. That's right. In honor of the 15th anniversary and in preparation for the upcoming revival, I'm guiding Blue Dragon 5 through the series, experiencing his reactions watching it for the first time, and reliving my summer memories throughout the years. Today's episodes are Grease Lightning and Leave the Busting to Us. First up is Grease Lightning, story by Martin Olson, Bobby Gaylor, Alex Almager, Chris Hedges on storyboards, and Dan Bobenmeyer directing. How are you coming down on this one, Dragon?
Do you want to throw up the thing?
Yes.
All right. Yeah,
Yes, I do.
Good. Yeah, I thought this was a fun spectacle of an episode. This, kind of playing with Greek myth, chariots, a lot of the trappings. So there was,
even though technically that stuff is Roman.
I know, that's the weird thing, right? Because we're kind of blending things a little bit, but I don't know, it kind of worked.
Which, to be fair, is called out in the next episode.
True.
But yeah, I always see this episode as one of the more fun ones because it's just a chariot race that motorized chariots through downtown. And it's actually one of the few things that's outright called illegal in this show. The show even calls they're not street legal.
Yeah, well, we know what awaits these boys when they step out of line. They're going to the Smile Away Academy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Even though that was a dream within a dream, it's
they'll answer the Clancy Brown one way or another.
This technically, I said technically he wasn't that last episode, but that's not the last time we see him.
Wait, get out of here! We're gonna see Clancy Brown again.
Yes, but not as the same character.
Okay, so it's gonna be a different. Okay, so it's not gonna be the same character.
Technically, he's gonna be two different characters, not in the same episode either.
Well, that tracks.
Yep, they get it for two different characters.
All right.
I'm not going to say what they are, but technically you've already seen one of them.
But anyway.
But yep. And on background, this is the first appearance of Norm, the robot.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yep, of course. Dragon, of course you're very familiar with who voices Norm.
That right? I am, the great John Viner.
I always thought it was pronounced Viner, but Viner probably is better.
Yeah, it's Viner.
All right. Obviously another Family Guy alumni.
Oh yeah, it's really funny. They always joked about this in the room. The main thing they all knew John Viner from before his days in the Family Guy writers' room was the orange juice guy, or the guy from the orange juice commercial.
What's the explanation behind that?
Well, no, he was the guy from the orange juice commercial. He was the voiceover guy from the orange juice. Hello, try that. I don't know what the exact ad was, but it's try some orange juice.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot different than writing for Family Guy.
Oh yeah. Well, also doing voice work on Family Guy, but I believe he was. I'm fairly sure. Yeah, he had a lot of credits on Family Guy. I'm pretty sure he was also in the writers' room.
I think he was a writer. I think he became a producer at one point.
Yeah.
And then again, so have a lot of the writers for that show.
That's what I'm saying. So predominantly, I think it stands to reason, kind of writer, producer, and voice actor. So, it's very multi-headed over there. At least it used to be. Now it's just kind of artificial, but,
And of course, first Norm appearance, hell yeah, says Ellie.
There's only one way to commemorate this, Jacob.
Yes.
Norm!
Norm!
Every time Norm shows up, we should do that. Norm! It's a warm welcome for Norm.
And of course, as we know, both Dan Bobenmeyer and John Viner used to work on Family Guy together. I don't know if they collaborated on any episodes, but obviously they both worked on it.
Well, it's interesting because John Viner was really there in the revival period of Family Guy. And we know for a fact that Bobenmeyer was there during that revival period. The initial revival period, after he come back from the 3 seasons.
And basically Dan directed When You Wish Upon a Weinstein, which was the final episode of the original run.
That's the thing. So I don't...
And then was brought back, obviously, for the revival as well.
So my presumption is that Pubmeyer was kind of a higher, like towards the third season, mainly towards the tail end of Family Guy. Which again, that's going to be Pubmeyer in his heyday, because Family Guy does get kind of Family Guy gets jump started in the, I believe, kind of like The Simpsons. It kind of got like the tail end of a decade, sort of an entry point. Where Family Guy was kind of at 99, where Simpsons was 89.
Yeah, which Dan also worked on technically.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I'm not saying Pubmeyer was there from the very beginning, technically being in the '90s, but it's just kind of like Pubmeyer coming off of like kind of some well-known stuff, and he's kind of in there during the early 2000s kind of period. Then to the mid 2000s when he's really kind of like, oh, Dan Pubmeyer from Family Guy.
And that's where you first heard of him, right?
That is true. Yes, I mean that's the thing.
And then you look back and realize that he did a lot of the stuff in the like Nickelodeon stuff in the '90s.
Correct.
Like I said, this show is almost a Nickelodeon show in the '90s.
Yep.
As I mentioned in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. This show could have come out in the '90s. We could have talked about this show during our great '90s ranking podcast if it had come out at that point.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. So it's like, but yeah. So you want to start with the episode, or do you want to dive any more like behind the scenes stuff, and just like get into the episode?
Well, do you think anything's appropriate we should get out there before we get into the episode?
I mean, not really, other than like
Let's do it. Let's talk about the episode.
All right. We begin in the Danville Museum in the Greek exhibit.
So this is kind of a thing we've done a few times here. Where, classic, Lawrence at a museum, and he's telling, like, he's expositing stuff that's going to relate to the episode, or at least inspire a good idea from the boys.
Yep, and with the highlight being the Chariot of Asparagus.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
Every time I say this guy's name comes up, I keep thinking of asparagus, which I'm pretty sure is the idea.
That's literally how his name is spelled.
So I'm a little rusty on my Greek myth, and we are kind of combining Greek and Roman myth here. So this is why I think it threw me off if there is a real guy. But I'm thinking asparagus, like that's there's no way, right?
It's a joke, yes.
That's what I thought. I'd be really impressed, if it was a deep pool.
I mean, they're literally just taking the word asparagus and just pronouncing it like an old Greek name.
True.
Like, heck, if you even notice, like the letters on the chariot were just like backwards English.
Yeah. All right, so like we're in the museum, we're looking at the Medusa now. Okay, so we got to admit the Medusa runner with Candace. It's funny, but I think, especially by the very end, I think we may have milked it for all it was worth. In terms of like, we're already pushing a little bit of like, okay, calling Candace Medusa's funny, but then we have this gag where I think it works once, but the more we do it, it's like, okay, we're kind of maybe lingering a little bit on this here. Where Candace is like, she says, I don't look like Medusa, and we kind of push the animation in her face so she looks really monstrous and Medusa-esque. Go a little far after that initial gag where it's like, okay, we did something kind of cute there, and then it's like, okay, we gotta lean on it.
I mean, but to be fair, they think it does lead them to think she actually saved them from the Minotaur.
That is true.
Which I have to admit is a pretty good payoff to that whole thing.
Yeah, but we'll get to it. I don't think the last joke cuts the mustard, but we'll get there. So Lawrence. So the boys are inspired, by again kind of our weird kind of Greek-Roman, or one could say Greco-Roman.
Yes.
But, anyway,
to be fair, Roman myths did borrow a lot from Greeks.
Yeah, that tracks. So Lawrence mistakes this awesome. I'm gonna highlight this. The boys made a freaking awesome model of Danville. I want that model. It's a great model of Danville.
It is pretty neat, and all of the all the different landmarks and stopping by the Paul Bunyan's Pancake House.
See, here's what we got to do here. Oh God, this I love this so much. This reminds me of the Freakazoid gag. Anubis food markets. Food so good you can eat it. Where in this case it's
Paul Bunyan's, where the food is good. but not too good, eh?
was the first thought I had when I had that Paul Bunyan's thing. I was like, here's the okay. Let me walk you through my thought process. So it's like they're walking through. It's almost like a nod to Back to the Future with like Doc Brown's little crude model of Hill Valley. So we have this gag where we're going past and it's like, oh, Paul Bunyan's House of Paintings. I'm thinking, man, that's cool branding. I'd like to hear more about that. Then a second later, Paul Bunyan's House of Pancakes.
Where the food is good, but not too good, eh? Like, you gotta just love truth in advertising, right?
Yeah, again, like that Anubis Food Markets thing.
I mean, they're not overselling themselves, which is good. You gotta love honesty. And they're honest. It's like, yeah, we're good, but we're not the best, you know.
Yeah, appreciate it.
They're modest.
Jacob, nothing says eat up like grounded expectations.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. So, let's see. Okay, so the point being, the boys want to have a chariot race. Lawrence mistakes this as like, okay, they're just going to race like toy horses on this model, which I really appreciated that detail. Just seeing like, oh, you can see where he made the leap there.
Yeah, I mean, one would be fair, like they have the little remote control chariots and all that.
Mm-hmm. And so Isabella is called in to gather the forces, spread the word. And Isabella is terrible at doing this, apparently.
It's like, wait, where am I going again?
What time?
Where is it? Here.
Who am I? I love you can see like Phineas is getting annoyed.
Yeah, but he doesn't like get too upset with it though.
No, he's not like upset, but he's just kind of like, yes, this time, this place, everyone.
Like, just tell them all to come here and bring gladiator gear.
Yeah. All right, let's dip out of the Greek stuff.
Okay.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Let's all go to the lobby.
All right, so Doofenshmirtz. He's got a private screening going on. He's rented a movie theater.
You know what it's called, Dragon?
What's it called?
Doofenshmirtz Abandoned Theater.
Yeah, oh yeah, God, yes, Doofenshmirtz Abandoned Theater. That's right. Yes, it's great. So, this is one of my favorite gags in the whole thing. I love the idea that Doofenshmirtz, because he has like the private screenings thing like this. There was one errant viewer who wandered in. He bought a ticket somehow. Doofenshmirtz, being the enterprising man that he is, like, the man bought his ticket. He can sit there during the evil plan.
He's like, how did you get in here? He bought a ticket to see this movie.
Okay, roll the film.
It's like, this is the best platypus movie I've ever seen.
So again, we have basically this. I love this. I gotta admit, this was really fun. I think it's a beautiful introduction for Norm here, where the idea that Doofenshmirtz has this film play about the nature of the platypus, or in this case, the platypuses, the platypi,
platypeople. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
and of course, it's talking about all the different predators and things like that, which, if you notice on the picture, include a blender.
Of course, I think the best one being dangerously imitatable stunts.
Like their natural enemies and causes of death include poisonous snakes, badgers, and duplicating imitatable stunts seen on television.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, it could be a leading cause of injury for any platypus.
Yes. But also, again, kind of a biting commentary on like what parents groups have complained about in the past.
Of course.
Yeah. Like, hey, Animaniacs, you can't hit someone with a bat. We're gonna give it little bat wings. Sounds good to me.
And of course the classic one where they do the violence but off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can hit somebody as long as you do it off screen. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You want to do that scene from Batman Beyond where Batman's being beaten by a giant wrench? Just cut away right before it hits him. It's fine.
Like the kids won't put it together or anything.
No. Jason Todd, he's fine. He's just being tickled by the crowbar off screen. He'll be fine.
Was that actually any? Batman the Animated Series or Batman Beyond or anything like that?
Not well. Again, I told you the Batman Beyond was kind of an homage to the death of Jason Todd, where he's being beaten by that giant wrench. Where, of course, in the comic, it's beaten to death with a crowbar, and the idea they could never. It's so weird. Kids WB, believe it or not, Fox was the thing where Batman series did have censorship that. See, John Semper Jr., the guy who does Spider-Man the Animated Series, he always kind of made a meal out of the fact of like, we weren't overly censored. We were censored like everyone else. Well, yeah, but you didn't really cleverly work your way around it. You just kind of caved in. And where in this case, Batman the Animated Series, same restrictions of Spider-Man the Animated Series, but they had clever ways around it. Now, when they were on Kids WB, oddly enough, Kids WB let them go far more brutal. They can get away with blood in episodes and gun violence, and like you could actually see the handguns, and you could do all sorts of really twisted things. And again, the first episode of Batman Beyond, we beat Batman almost to death with a crowbar.
And he even pulls a gun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We did all of that in episode 1.
Yeah, and you guys are talking your way through Batman Beyond now too.
Yeah, we're on season 2.
Nice.
Okay, so anyway,
so of course Doofenshmirtz takes the message of the movie way too literally. You know, like the enemy of the platypus is man.
Of course, Tiki's not here, so we should probably yes, man.
Yes, man.
Yes, no, not Christopher Lloyd. I know he is man in Bambi, but this is a different man.
Yes.
So yes, so we learned. So basically, the irony that Doofenshmirtz comes up with, like, I'm gonna instead of like realizing no, he is man, or better yet, I mean, if Doofenshmirtz is really smart, he basically, I can imagine like almost like a Scott Snyder kind of Batman Joker thing right here, where it's just sort of like, I watched this film recently and it made me realize, you're already a goner. I don't have to do a thing. It would have been like the cycle again for the gritty reboot.
For the gritty reboot.
All we got to do is just is this wonderful self-feeding thing. He just has to bring Perry Platypus in there, let him eat his popcorn and everything like he's doing, and just let the film play and just explain like, I don't have to do anything, Perry Platypus. You're an endangered species. You don't have long for this world.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Psychological warfare.
That's what I'm saying. Psychological warfare. It's fine. It's kind of a missed opportunity. The episode's like right there. Like, oh God, he's in danger. Part of me is wondering if Dooster's going to be sympathetic after hearing all this, but like, no. Instead, he's built a robot in the shape of man,
and not just any man. A man
Norm.
From Norm. Basically, a guy from the 1950s.
Pretty much, it's John Viner doing kind of a salesman shtick, pretty much kind of like Billy Crudup in that No Tomorrow show. Sorry, not No Tomorrow. It's a different show with the Hello Tomorrow show.
The enemy of the platypus is man. Perhaps we can discuss our differences over coffee.
Love that. I love that he's very friendly despite
it's basically just
trying to kill him.
He's like a 50s or 60s neighborhood dad kind of guy.
So yeah, that's the thing. He's very much Ward Cleaver.
Yeah, basically, at least in this episode, after this episode, he develops an actual personality.
So the thing with Norm I love so much is that Norm is actually very formidable for Perry. You see Perry on the ropes this episode. Like, we have this great action beat here where he's like about to karate chop and Perry like dodges the last second. Like, there's a menace with Norm.
It's like this is actually like one of 2 times where Norm is actually a legitimate threat to Perry.
Because Vanessa won't lift a finger. She's no Shigo. She has the temperament of Shigo. Well, not not an aggressive temperament, but she's got a kind of sardonic way about her, like Shigo. However,
I mean, dress her in green and give her glowing hands. Yeah, she basically would be Shigo.
There you go. However, Norm, appropriate muscle that Doofenshmirtz now has to do his whims.
And he said, this is like the only there's only like one other time where Norm actually becomes a legitimate threat to Perry. A lot of other times, Norm just helps Doofenshmirtz with whatever's going on.
Yep.
I love how Norm actually just like he's introduced as this random guy, random robot guy, but then he becomes like a semi-recurring regular character.
Yeah.
And it's just like I remember watching like a Comic-Con once where these guys were there, and basically one of the questions was just like, "What's with Norm?" I mean, that's how they actually worded the question: was "What's with Norm?"
That's a good way of putting it.
Yep. And basically, he explained what we already know, that Dan knew him from Family Guy and brought him on for this.
No.
So speaking of movies, though, Lawrence is preparing his own Gladiator movie marathon. So what do you make of that, Drake?
So, Jacob, did you get my message? I asked about the research component for this.
Yes, I actually did.
Good. So that begs the question, Lawrence. So Lawrence is watching 12 hours of Gladiator movies here. Of course, Candace is coming in there, and this leads to the misunderstanding of he's like, oh yeah, you want to watch the movies too? Like, no, what's happening outside? Of course,
it's like they're racing chariots. Like, I know that part's just beginning.
So here's a question.
Lawrence is just delightful.
So circa the year this episode came out, were there 12 hours worth of Gladiator movies?
Dragon, there are Gladiator movies like all throughout the 1950s and 60s.
Really?
Yes, it's like most popular genre behind the Western. But basically,
it was that big.
Yes, I mean, according to several articles that I read.
Well,
yes.
what I mean is, I know there are Gladiator movies. I guess what I was wondering is, like, do we have are there as many as we think there are?
Yes,
there are.
Yes, I found a list, and specifically, he had 4 tapes. So I found potentially 4 movies that could come close to filling in that gap of 12 hours.
Really?
Ben-Hur, the 1959 one,
mm-hmm.
which clocks in at 3 hours and 32 minutes.
Okay.
Which is apropos for this because obviously Ben-Hur's most famous scene is its chariot race. We even reference with Buford's spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we can't have a Gladiator movie marathon without Gladiator, the Ridley Scott movie.
Mm-hmm.
Clocking in at 2 hours and 35 minutes, which is a more famous modern day example of a Gladiator movie.
Okay, we're about halfway there.
Yep, Spartacus from 1960 from Stanley Kubrick. Which is 3 hours and 17 minutes.
There you go.
And of course, Jason and the Argonauts.
Okay, fair. Okay, there we go. Solid lineup.
Which is about 1 hour and 44 minutes. I tallied that together. It's about 11 hours and 8 minutes. But I mean, it's close enough. I think it's close enough. But basically, Gladiator is the only movie from the 2000s.
Okay.
But yeah, this is so yeah.
All right, so the race itself,
as I mentioned, it does have inspiration from like Ben-Hur, which is a scene in like Buford's. Like, why do we put spikes on Buford's chariot?
We have this great call out of like, why do we give Buford all the cool stuff?
Yeah, but Dragon and Phineas and Ferb get the coolest thing of all, though.
That they do. They get
cup holders. You got to go for the cup holders.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have a vehicle without cup holders, right, Dragon?
Well, that is true.
I mean, how else are you going to keep your drink? How are you going to keep your drink steady in a vehicle?
Yeah.
Buford doesn't have cup holders.
But to go to your earlier point in the episode, the mechanized horse design on the chariots is really cool.
Yes, it is. I like the different chariots themselves, the motorized horses, customized with lawnmower engines.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, those things can haul pretty well because look how fast those things are going.
Oh yeah, well, it's kind of the same logic of Toy Story. Like, how can RC go that fast? In the third act of Toy Story.
And also, how can toys drive one of those freaking luggage carts all the way from an airport?
Yeah, sometimes you gotta throw. Mainly in the third act, especially, it's kind of like Pixar does have a philosophy, and we've always used this philosophy. It's kind of the we don't care. And that's not to say they don't care, which is always, I'm always afraid of people taking that out of context. Like, we don't care, but the way you should is that it's just kind of like the whole, like, let's not overthink it. Let's just go for it. I think we've built enough credit up that we can just kind of throw our hands up in the air and say, we don't care.
I mean, you think they would run out of gas or people would notice, but
Yeah.
but who cares? Anyway, like so yeah, the song "My Chariot," John Goldenberry, Robert Hughes, Martin Olson, and Dan wrote the song, and Robbie Wyckoff from previously performed the song. Like, I guess if I'm a true Phineas and Ferb fan, I've got to watch Lawrence's full collection of Gladiator movies. I mean, those are all good movies, by the way, though. The ones that I mentioned earlier. Have you seen all those movies, Dragon?
Let's see about there's Gladiator. I've seen parts of Spartacus.
Of course, everyone knows the famous "I am Spartacus" thing.
That's what I'm saying. So there's a little bit of that.
Of course, everyone, Jason and the Argonauts, the skeleton fight.
Yeah, but that's it. I think because they're so lengthy, I think I've seen bits and pieces of the majority of these films. If not, I've seen Gladiator, and then the rest are probably bits and pieces.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's by no means an extensive list. I mean, like there's like Italian gladiator movies throughout the 60s. There's all kinds of stuff like Italian westerns and gladiator movies. Those are all over the place.
Anyway, so we have this gladiator match in which there are no rules during this race here, and we have this great gag where Baljeet, he's wearing a basically an axe for a helmet.
It's like first of all, I just love when they're like actually starting the race, and Buford and Baljeet are already on. She's like, "You're going down. We're on the same team. Then you're going down with me." I mean, Buford's logic is infallible, right, Dragon?
As always.
Yes.
So long as I go in the mud.
As long as I want the mud. Buford is a layered individual.
Oh,
Trust me, you'll see as the show goes on, he's definitely a layered individual.
Okay.
All right. So it's like Belden, like, they get the idea, like, use your head. Exactly. Use my head.
Now, of course, I'm sure I'm not alone here. Of course, when you heard that line, you're probably thinking, but I don't want to use my head.
Ow. But of course, this time Baljeet actually goes with it, and then, he approves of the idea.
He gets wielded like an axe.
It's like, well, first off, he's just like scraping his head. It's like using his head against the gun to create sparks towards Isabella in the fireside.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying it's the fact we do that, and we just progressively we're cutting lines, and then we're like cutting trees.
Like, yeah, it's like, wow, that hat is actually pretty dangerous when used that way.
Oh yeah,
Buford could easily chop somebody's arms off with that, or chop somebody's head off with that thing.
Well, we found the deleted scene from the great reboot.
Yep, not included in the final cut though.
True.
They didn't want to get it too much of an R rating in this.
That's the thing, just Buford. It's one of the fireside girls just kind of like falls off the chariot or like leaps onto their chariot, and they're just, I'm sorry, I can't let you win. Like, he just grabs Beth. Buford, what are you doing? This is different than what this is different. This isn't sparks and trees. This is human life. And basically uses them to, it's like cut the like, again, they're not monsters. It's like an abrupt cut of just like, just cut away. And then see Baljeet just kind of like wide eye, like, I was an implement of murder.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
She's in pieces, Buford.
Yeah, but she's not dead, is she?
I don't know.
Focus on the race.
Anyway, again, it was too dark for the final cut.
Yeah. They didn't want to make Buford too irredeemable.
Oh, of course. Anyway,
I mean, he may be a bully, but he has standards.
All right, Jacob, let's focus on what's important here, okay?
Yeah, what's important?
We go to Paul Bunyan's House of Pancakes.
It's Paul Bunyan's Pancake House.
Paul Bunyan's Pancake House.
The food is good.
But not too good.
Eh? That's one of my favorite little jingles.
Anyway, so Norm the robot is chasing Perry, and he ends up bumping into the blue ox. That is,
honey, have you seen my keys? And then he runs into the bull. It's supposed to be an ox, the blue ox,
yeah,
everything, but it almost becomes like a bullhead when he wears it.
Makes him look like a minotaur.
It's like, what is that? It's like, it's half man, half bull. It's the Minotaur. My name is Norm. It's Norm the Minotaur. At least he respects the names.
Oh, absolutely.
It's Norm the Minotaur.
Anyway, so we're back to the museum, and we find that Candace, by the way, during all this, she has like the Medusa helmet like stuck on her, and she's been in her own car, and she's been kind of thrown into the action. Anyway, so they end up at the museum,
obviously against her own will.
Typically,
it's like, and this is one of the fair points. This is one of the few points where she is kind of justified in what she was talking about, like regular endangerment, disrupting traffic. Like, yeah, she has a point.
She does indeed. Anyway,
and of course she loses her phone when Buford launches the bowling ball.
Oh, the coolest thing, by the way, is the fact there's like a bowling ball catapult. I love that so much.
It's still not as cool as the cup holder, though.
Nothing's as cool as the cup holder, Jacob.
I mean, it's even insulated too.
Yeah.
Like, so of course, like through all different kinds of shenanigans, even avoiding a mother and her baby. Which they almost run into.
That's what I'm saying. If you think about it again, Jacob, gritty reboot time.
Gritty reboot time.
Again, we see the mother and child in the middle of the road, and
oh no,
we're barreling towards him, and it's the last second. But that mother is now shaking off a near-death experience, and now Phineas is living with the sobering guilt of like, Ferb, you don't understand. There's a woman and her baby. What are we doing with our life? What are we doing? This is crazy. We, all because of a chariot race. This is, that baby may never have grown up, and now it's going to grow up with therapy. What are we doing, man? Then Isabella shows up, and this is like, hey, Phineas, what you doing? Not now, Isabella. We're in crisis right now, woman. Not now. Go the other way. Out the room. Out. No. Turn around. No, don't even enter through the window. Just go out. No. Just leave. Just turn around. We'll call you later.
Okay.
Anyway.
Back to the episode?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so again, we find the off switch. Norm apparently has an off switch, which I'm sure is very convenient.
Yeah, at least it wasn't a self-destruct button.
For a change, because we don't want to kill Norm. That's why.
Nope. It's like, and of course Candace is like standing up to Norm when this happens. Candace won the race.
Yeah.
After everybody literally crashed into the museum because apparently they didn't implement brakes.
No.
Or apparently very good shock systems, because as they were going up the stairs, you can see them all like,
mm-hmm.
They didn't implement shocks or brakes, which is not very good vehicular design.
So, okay, so two things. One, we have the gag where Doofenshmirtz, he has like Perry puts a platypus helmet on, which feels too convenient for me. It feels like he just randomly had that platypus helmet.
I mean, this is the platypus who conveniently had cheese in his hat.
No, that's true, but the fact that it was like the same color as Perry and everything.
I remember he was even going to attack a platypus exhibit in the museum too.
I'm gonna have to guess. I guess they were selling those, but I wish we kind of like saw it at least once.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, I see your point on that one. But
just like once, just to show like there's a gift shop like the platypus exhibit or something. Just like not even we don't have to like establish it really hard. We just need to see it at least once during the action sequence when we're going by it.
but of course, he starts. Perry shuts Norm off, leaving everyone to believe Candace has the power to turn people to stone.
Okay, so that's where I kind of draw the line on the episode here. Like, Jacob put do we have the the Dan Swampy message?
All right.
Hi guys, it's your old friend. Guys, I gotta be honest. I was feeling the episode, but I think we flew a little too. Put it to a Greek parable. I think we flew a little too close to the sun on that Candace gag. Our wings turned to stone, and we plummeted to the ground a little.
Well, to be fair, Icarus's wings burnt when they got too close to the sun.
I know that. I'm trying to connect it to the Medusa thing, Jacob. Yes.
I know.
So yes, here's the thing, gentlemen. It just feels a little dumb on Candace's part that she thinks like, hey, I'm at a museum and there are statues that were there clearly before I got to the museum, and yet she's not realizing any of this. Like, I don't know. It just feels there's frantic Candace and there's her like kind of spazzing out, but there's spazzing out. Then there's like, Candace, it's a museum, okay? There are statues. All the statues are wearing Greek clothing. As in, you're not turning people to stone, you silly girl. Come on.
I mean, honestly, I don't really have an issue with it myself. I just thought it was funny.
I mean, it doesn't help that it was like the last gag, though. That's the thing. It's like, really, that just shows you that we didn't have much of an ending in mind here. It just feels like we need to end on a Candace gag. What's the best one we can come up with? A stone, the stone runner.
It's like, okay, Ferb, you can look at it. Ferb, you can look now. She's gone. Like, no, I'm not taking any chances.
Okay.
And it's like, hey, no, there, look, Perry's here. Still not looking. Ferb was being kind of rude, though.
Yeah.
All right, so of course, Doofenshmirtz is chased away by Norm, wearing the hat. Like, secretly, I'm very lonely.
Does Norm take a bride, Jacob?
No, but he does date.
Really?
He does date later, like get a date in the 4th season.
Is it a human one?
It's a robot.
That would have been really impressive if we went the other way with that. Okay.
It's like we should invite our wives next time. I just love all the stereotypical 50s phrases he says.
Yeah.
Normally, I mean, John Viner can really sell that. Like, I've been saying his name wrong all this time. Like, it's hard habit to break.
Do you think Norm is just? Do you think the wife, him dating in the future? Do you think that's a retcon of this wife thing? Or do you think the wife thing's just purely pre-recorded nonsense?
Probably just pre-recorded nonsense.
Okay.
And the date only appears for 1 episode.
Okay.
I know.
That brings us to the next episode.
And the next episode, which is Leave the Busting to Us. Bobby Gaylor, Martin Olson wrote the story. Sherm Cohen and Anton Gilbo did the storyboards, and Zach Moncrief did the directing. So the episode actually begins as the day ends. Obviously Phineas and Ferb built a giant Ferris wheel in their backyard. Which, you have to admit, is a pretty impressive sized Ferris wheel. Like, they're even able to get Russian astronauts back into the space station. So what do you make of the giant Ferris wheel? Or what do you make? Okay, first off, what do you think of the episode overall on this one?
It's it's interesting follow up to. It's an interesting follow up to last week. It challenges the status quo. Had some good gags. Just given the fact that we're calling out the formula a little bit here, as we've done before, but we're kind of going. We're kind of going in an interesting direction here. We kind of have the foil for Candace. Not maybe foil's the wrong word. We have kind of a partner in crime for Candace, so it's kind of refreshing.
I mean, this is basically where the show starts to acknowledge the formula, start messing with it. Like one of the earliest examples of it, anyway. like where the show like really this is an early example of a lot of the staples that of the kind of like the self-referential callback humor that this show is so established in later seasons. So,
Right.
like, and like, so what do you make of like the people like? What do you think of the Ferris wheel though? It's just a brief thing. So
No, I mean it's cool. I mean, I think maybe kind of a nod to the English roots of the Fletcher side of the family.
I mean that is true. Funny thing, we actually do the London Eye actually does appear in a later episode. But and of course, like there's the Russian astronauts, and of course some backwards speaking aliens. Did you notice that the aliens were actually just speaking English backwards?
I suspected, but I didn't know.
Like, and do you know what they say backwards?
No, I don't.
It's actually Dan's and the Dan Povenmire's full name backwards. Dan Kingsley Povenmire.
Oh, they went for the Phantasm opening. It sounds like.
Yep, they're just saying his middle name back. They're saying his full name backwards. So, but unfortunately they're not doing. They never made a full chorus of their names backwards. Unfortunately, in this case, they never did. They have like chanting and obviously choral music sometimes, but unfortunately, never any backwards chorus names. I can only imagine what Shirley Walker would do in a show like this.
Oh God, I can. No idea. Well, whatever she should be nominated for an Emmy, I'm sure.
I mean, wasn't she nominated for Emmys?
I want to say she's won some Emmys for the music from Batman the Animated Series, but she's definitely been nominated.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. But, all right. It's like, so this one, like I said, obviously this begins as basically mid-bust, as Linda fails to see the giant Ferris wheel in their backyard. And we don't even see what causes the Ferris wheel to go away, just that it goes away. And of course, and then there's Candace calling out the forum. He's like, "Why don't you come in for some snacks?" "Oh, there you are, Perry." And then Ferb says, "Gladiators were Roman, not Greek." Which is an acknowledgement of the fact that this show is an established formula at this point. And of course, at this point, she would of course be feeling frustrated. So she's an advertisement that'll definitely give her an idea for a change. So,
yes, the Bustum ad.
Yeah. Leave the busting to us. Bustum. Yeah, that lady, Lulu Jones, is quite an insane lady.
Absolutely. So the fun thing about Lulu Jones is
voiced by Vicki Lewis, by the way.
Even better. If I recall, Vicki Lewis, I believe, was in Finding Nemo.
Yeah, I think she was Deb.
And Flo.
And yes, and technically also Flo. She was also in Justice League: The New Frontier.
Yes.
Iris West, it looks like.
Yeah.
I had no idea she was in that.
Yeah, no, she is. Yeah.
And Gwendolyn Yao voiced Fifi. All right. But as you were saying.
Yes. So, Lulu seems to be kind of like Candace's future. Seems to be kind of like a potential warning as to what could happen to Candace. Basically, to some degree, if the great reboot were to come to pass, just in terms of just like she's gone a little mad, she's gone a little crazy and sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I can. Honestly, the funny thing is, I actually do know what happens to Candace in the future, like what her actual job becomes. like as established in like one of the future episodes, like we actually figure out what her future career is or what she's planning on becoming. But I'm not gonna say it though.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So they, again, we have this as you said, we established the pattern, which is like the little snacks, the. Oh, there you are, Perry, and Ferb has a line. So basically, she's rinsing her feet. She's gotten so tired of it, she's called up the Bustum ad lady, and with she now has a partner in crime with Lulu, and the idea is like they're gonna make the best episode ever. And the idea of this Bustum show is that it's like Cheaters or something. It's like one of those kind of gotcha shows. It's like, okay, we're gonna give you resources, and we're gonna catch you're gonna catch the people in the act that are making your life hard.
And of course, it's like also a parody of the satire of those shows. Like,
Yeah.
like okay, you're just basically glamorizing someone's private life in that way. But to be fair, this is kind of obviously getting your siblings in trouble is a little more innocuous than that, but still has the same kind of principles. I mean, the question is like, how would people in the outside world react to what Phineas and Ferb do? Like, would the people in that universe actually like say, "Oh, hey, that's awesome," or would they be like, Someone call Child Protective Services now"? How would they? How do you think they'd react, Dragon?
Well, you mean how would they react if Linda caught them?
Yeah, I mean, like if this thing was publicly broadcasted and they didn't lose their footage in a freak Doofenshmirtz accident.
I mean, honestly, I like to think more on the positive side of things. Look what these boys did. They're wonderkins. We got to give all these boys are contracting. They're marvels.
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly like to think so too. There might be some like trepidation from Linda, but ultimately, I think that she would be ultimately be receptive of what they do. But either way, obviously Lulu is definitely an excitable one, as we can see. Like she's definitely has a bit of neuroticism to her.
I'm sorry, what?
Neuroticism.
Right.
Yeah, she's like neurotic. What did you think I said?
No, I just want to make sure I.
Or did you think I said something else entirely?
Well, I want to make sure you were keeping it PG. I'll say that much.
I was.
Okay.
It's like so anyway. Do you want to talk about Doofenshmirtz stuff or like Perry stuff, or do you want to like move on to?
I'll pick a direction.
All right, so we see so Perry enters his lair, I believe.
I love how he enters. I love the fact that we do the old, the old painted wall gag.
Like, well, in this case, he like just takes a shower and then just ends up at the freaking place.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were meant to, like when he actually busts into Doofenshmirtz's lair. But you're right, Perry has like a little shower entrance this time.
Yep, and then when Monogram tries to, like Sky, Weather, Rain, Doofenshmirtz, like we appear to be breaking up. I'll call you on a landline, which kids these days, a lot of them probably don't even know what a landline is. I mean, how many people out there know what a landline is? Who knows? Maybe more than I think. But then it just turns out like
I think everyone knows what a landline is.
I know. I'm just making a joke. But anyway, he calls him basically to recap: Sky, Weather, Rain, Doofenshmirtz. But yeah, Perry goes after Doofenshmirtz, and then turns out to be a fake wall. What do you make of that?
I love the fake wall gag so much, and I love that then we kind of pull the fake out on him where he says, "Oh, I can't believe I fell for that." And then, of course, he falls for it and finds it was like a fake, like a platypus dummy that just slams into the thing. Then we have this great gag, I think probably the best gag in the episode here, where it's like, okay, I got to give you props on that. We go to this board in which it says my favorite detail is the fact that it's not just like nothing to this many. It's the fact that it's 3 Doofenshmirtz, 150 Perry the Platypus.
Basically, yeah.
It's actually 150, by the way.
Yeah, you counted?
Yeah, I can. It's 150.
Nice. Well, 151 now.
No, I'm saying with the one, it was 150.
Oh, all right. I didn't count the tallies.
Yeah.
But, well, what do you know? Perry's got it. I mean, Doofenshmirtz does have some victories up, I guess. He's actually got Perry a couple times, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, we learned of Doofenshmirtz's tragic backstory this time. And his dreams of being a magician. Like Bobo, we tried pulling Bobo the rabbit out of a hat. And what happens to him?
Well, he keeps getting skunked like every time.
It's like pulls up a card. Like he tries to pull a rabbit out of the hat. Skunk. Tries to pick somebody's card. Grabs a skunk. He's tied up trying to pull a Houdini. Skunk comes up and skunks him again. It's like poor guy can't catch a break. I mean, this is the guy who lost poetry to a baking soda volcano. His life is full of turmoil. I'm guessing you probably require explanation for that last bit.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, you'll get in a few episodes.
Oh, goody. Okay.
Dragon, I keep dropping hints to future episodes that I'm rarely ever going to explain the context.
No, I get that, yeah. So, yes, the Gloom, yeah.
Go on.
The Gloominator 3000 Inator.
Inator, yes.
I love that we add the Inator after we already have an Inator, just because he couldn't just leave it at 3000.
The Gloominator 3000 Inator.
So basically, they have like these little sad pellets that create bad weather. It's just it's just kind of a fun. I love there's no real correlation to the whole magician thing. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, but the correlation really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, the whole magician thing basically just exists as a reason to justify him trapping Perry in a box.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like okay, he has a tragic magician backstory, but now he's just causing weather disruptions. Really doesn't make it. Yeah, that the correlation doesn't make much sense, but it is a kind of fun one regardless. As you said, like just creating pellets of basically creating tornadoes in the air, which is pretty dangerous actually. So this is potentially one of Doofenshmirtz's more potentially destructive schemes. But fortunately, nothing really happens outside of cartoonish violence.
Yep. So let's talk about the best gag of the episode.
All right, what do you think is the best gag of the episode?
Okay, so obviously, we have this thing where Platypus defeats him with bunnies, with Bobo the rabbit, and as many spawn or relatives or however that works.
All coming out of the hat. You're basically using that hat as like a rabbit machine gun.
Which is awesome.
Or Gatling gun, I guess, would be more appropriate in this case.
Anyway, we have this gag where because of this, we have this couple.
The farmer and his wife.
Farmer and his wife, and the wife is like, we have a bunny farm, and you didn't get any bunnies. What do you think? They're just gonna fall from the sky, and then we crush her with the basket.
Someone owes me an apology.
So just a funny commentary on marriage right there. It's just great. It's giving the belabored, the beleaguered husband just kind of like a bit of a break there. And of course, gritty reboot time. Very simple. When that basket lands, she ain't moving. There's a little puddle.
I mean, there's a more appropriate place for that scene later in the end credits track.
That's true.
I mean, literally, the ending gag is like a van almost falling.
I know what happened. We'll get there. All right, just hold on. Okay, let me redact that slightly. Still crushed, but here's where things get dark.
Okay.
There's a whole recovery process. whole like kind of side tangent of like her recovering in the hospital for months, and there's like the whole them working on their marriage and everything,
Uh,
and like a genuine apology, like I'm sorry I undermine you all the time. Of course, it builds to like, I've sold our very lucrative bunny business to pay for your hospital bills. And in return, I've now opened this van thing, and then she brings up almost innocently, like, how could you have sold our lucrative bunny business that put me in the hospital to
What'd you think? What'd you think? A van was gonna fall out of the sky?
that falls, and then that's all, folks.
It's like, yep.
Red puddles, like that's it, gone.
Yeah, we do see them quite a bit later. We do see them again, the farmer and his wife, a couple more times throughout the series. Corey Burton does the voice of the farmer, by the way.
Cool.
Like we're both Corey Burton fans here.
We love him.
Oh yeah. Like he's done a lot. He's done a lot. I mean, I'd like to meet him. I'd like to meet him actually. Unfortunately, he doesn't go to a lot of cons.
Corey Burton just seems like he's so darn close. Tiki and I recapped an episode of Batman Beyond recently. I forgot to mention this on the podcast because I'm sure he's gonna be back. But he did a few voices on there.
I mean, yeah, he probably did. I mean, he did a lot of stuff for DC, right? I mean, mainly Brainiac. But
Well, that's the most iconic thing, yeah.
who was he in Beyond?
Well, I'm just saying he was like kind of like a random, just kind of like a few GCPD cops, and I think there was maybe a thug. But the point he did like a couple like spare roles in the recent episode of Batman Beyond. But I think he pops all over the place, but especially as Brainiac.
Oh, nice. I mean, that's like his most famous DC role, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done a lot. I mean, it's hard to name something he hasn't done. To be honest, or a show or a cartoon he hasn't been in at one point or another. All right, so we figure out what the boys are doing today, which is a water slide.
Yeah.
What do you make of their water slide? I'd love to go on this thing.
I know, it's awesome. I mean, I get you. Admittedly, though, here's the thing. I love that what we did here is that the way we scaled it up is the fact like, okay, this one actually is of all the Phineas and Ferb stuff, and intentionally so. And I think we kind of tread a line here, where ridiculously cool, but this one specifically, especially if you've seen, I don't know if you ever watched that Action Park documentary I told you about.
Class Action Park,
yeah.
I actually haven't seen it yet, but I've seen a lot of YouTube stuff. Like saw the Defunct Land episode on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
which doesn't really delve into it as much as Class Action Park does. But
the Class Action's a great documentary. But
but I have seen like a lot of videos on it.
So based on that, it's like, yeah, this is actually really reckless and dangerous, especially seeing how that works. And this like the other thing for me, the gag that oversold it just a bit for me is that like one moment, like if they just cut this one small gag out, I think it would have played like a little better, so, kind of to the usual like Phineas and Ferb kind of thrill seekers before it's like actual dangerous and recklessness like it was in the pilot. Just the fact that they fell on all these sharp objects and just kind of bounced off of it. It's like that one. I don't think that gag makes a lot of sense. And
we remember that I remember the sharp objects were just made of like foam and stuff.
Did they say that?
I mean, no, but just the way they bounced it was like kind of implied.
That's what I'm saying. What's the point of that, though? Is it purely for the thrill that you're about to be impaled, but you're not?
I mean, that might be it.
I mean, that's the thing. It feels like weird because I think you're right, Jacob. It just doesn't really. Initially, I'm thinking like, did we just not animate that properly?
I don't think they're actually meant. I don't think those are meant to be realistic, implements of sharp objects.
That's like, I would hope not. Jacob, I guess my point is that gag feels like too much of a bit of a thinker. Like, hey, we have rubber, we have like kind of the rubber fake, kind of like a large pointy object. Why would we need that at water park? I don't think we necessarily need like threat of death in this giant water slide.
I've never been on thrill rides. Like,
well, I mean,
they have all kinds of these different themed rides. I mean, keep in mind they're also suspended over the ground a couple times, of the solid ground a couple times too.
Well, I get like the falling kind of aspect of it, but I mean like literal like, hey, death and impalement.
It's like I said, I'm speaking of Class Action Park. I'm not sure. I mean, I know they weren't directly probably inspired by by Action Park, but I don't even know if the creators were familiar with it or anything like that. I think they were just going for like a visual gag kind of thing. I mean, that's just my two. That's just my 2 cents.
All right.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, though. I just don't think it. I just think it's too much to worry about. but you have to admit, though, it is still a pretty cool ride, though. And of course, the first secret camera is just this giant camcorder taped to a hat.
Yeah, there's another thing, kind of like another nitpick I got here, where it's like, Jake, throw it up on the screen here, with the creators. Gentlemen, question: why is it Phineas can just like toss like the hat, like the helmet with the camera pointing at it, and say, "You don't want to get that wet," yet no one's batting an eye when she puts on another hat that is a cowboy hat. It's even more of a hat than the previous hat.
I think
it's all fine.
I think he's more referring to the camera.
What?
I think Phineas is more referring to the camera. Doesn't want to get the camera wet.
Well, yeah, but wasn't it like built into a helmet?
Like it was literally taped to the helmet.
Okay, so it wasn't like in the helmet; it was taped to the helmet.
Yes.
Oh.
LEB boys. Wait, like the helmet was like literally just like a camera attached to the helmet, like conspicuously like on top of a helmet.
Okay, I get it. Okay, never mind. I may have misread that. I'm sorry, gentlemen. We're all good. We're all good there. Let's get it up. Okay, we're gonna.
I mean, so even though that the cowboy hat actually did have like something sticking out of it, it's less conspicuous.
No, true. I just forgot. The helmet thing looked kind of like, I forget, I don't know. I guess I missed the thing with the camera. I guess I don't know. Like, the camera wasn't like purple, right? It was like, like
the camera was like a standard black box video camera.
That's what I thought, right? Yeah. Okay. So there's no way. I don't know how I missed that. I guess I was thinking of the hat, and I kind of assumed that anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
The helmet was purple, though.
Yeah. So the point being, Candace is like, she's going along for the ride, but I don't know, didn't it feel like a little bit of like, is it over? Oh, no, it's not over. It feels a little like, I don't know, it feels in this weird territory like we're inching towards, we're torturing Candace, but I mean, it's justified because she's trying to do something bad to the boys. But then again, the boys are doing, again, Class Action Park-esque in terms of this could actually hurt people. And again, it's kind of like the whole, like, they're not signing waivers like that first episode.
Well, I think it's heavily implied that every time they do this, they try and get their permits.
That's the thing, they get permits. That's true.
I mean, obviously, except for the freaking Chariots, because they straight up say they're not street legal. So it's like, they're bending, but not breaking, I guess. LAV says, like, we're torturing Candace, but it's justified.
Yeah.
She's not really being tortured or anything. She's just going along with the ride and the ride.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she's going for a ride, but also it's kind of we're in this weird space where it's like this ride looks very dangerous, so we are kind of torturing what I don't think we're necessarily meant to be. So I'm a little of two minds about it because obviously it's cool and it's fun and they're gonna be fine.
I mean, it's more like she sees it, but she doesn't even see it as torture. Because remember, she almost kind of found it fun. I mean, she almost did find it fun, and I don't think she felt torture in any way. I think
that's true, Jacob. But here's the argument. The argument is that it's kind of this thing where if we're supposed to believe that she actually has a chance of exposing what the boys have been up to.
Yeah.
As she always tends to, or showing something, the gag being like, hey, we finally caught it on video, we're showing stuff that's really juicy and absolutely going to get them busted, like unequivocally. like an unsanctioned water park, but I mean, it most likely has permits to it, so it's a little bit iffy there. But the point being is this thing that looks super dangerous, and firsthand we're showing that it's super dangerous. And then we're going to take the proof away at the end there. It feels like more than usual than what we do is like we're showing there's a danger to this thing. I don't know. It feels like again we're kind of dipping back into that pilot space where we don't usually show like a danger in what the boys are doing. Not to say we haven't like shown a little bit of that, but it's like this is like kind of a full blown. This is dangerous, and we're kind of glorifying it. But again, we're glorifying it, I believe, for plot purposes. So I'm just unsure.
I mean, that's basically where I come in down on it. But like, I don't necessarily say that they're even like it's because the show's obviously not doing it in a malicious way like some other shows do. Because like sometimes like. And a lot of times, like when a show does that, it's like a character that totally does not deserve it and is not being antagonistic in any way whatsoever. But here, I mean, like they're not even doing anything. It's not even like intentionally like doing anything to ruin Candace or anything like that. And they're trying to include her. They generally want to include her too, like because they don't know that she's trying to get them in trouble.
Yeah, well, okay, that's another thing too, where it's like. At a certain point, don't you have to question, like, why don't the boys like figure out that Candace just constantly wants to foil them, and like, how do the boys feel about that?
I mean, they generally, at least Phineas does, remains pretty much unaware of the fact that she wants to get them in trouble.
So it's Phineas, Phineas is oblivious, right? Like completely.
I mean, yes.
He's got to be, right?
Yes. If you haven't noticed, yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. Like keep in mind, Phineas. You'll definitely see that Phineas is definitely oblivious to a lot of things, as you've probably already noticed in some minor cases. I mean, specifically with Isabella and all that, which definitely gets explored a lot. Phineas's overall obliviousness is basically a character. It could almost be seen as like a character trait. he's oblivious to a lot of things, including his sister trying to get him and Ferb in trouble. All right, so like Candace after getting all the footage, Candace calls mom and and Lulu calls the producer, which basically because the show is threatened to being canceled, and is hoping that this will provide them the big ratings boost that they need. And of course, with Perry chasing Doofenshmirtz, Doofenshmirtz steals a kid's bike.
Okay, so a couple things about this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so one, the evil scientist stole my bike, and then we have like the little girl saying that nice duck gave me $20 for my scooter or skateboard.
Skateboard.
And here, the kid that says the evil scientist line.
Yeah.
I think we've reused them from before, but looking at this kid again, I think I brought this. If I didn't bring it up, I thought about it with this kid. If we've seen him before, weird looking kid. Design looks really off to me.
I think that might be the same kid that was like in the singing episode, in the Flop Stars episode at the beginning.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. That's well, he looks familiar.
Yeah, there are some they do reuse some characters for that. Heck, it might just be the same kid.
Entirely possible.
But like, you gotta feel bad for the kid Doofenshmirtz stole his bike.
I do. Yeah.
But Perry gave the little girl $20 for the skateboard.
I love that difference. That sums up who those characters are. Like, who's gonna take the kid's bike, where on the other hand, Perry's gonna Perry tips generously.
Yep, it's like, never mind like blowing a secret identity or anything. He just like gives a kid like, here's $20. Can I have your scooter?
Well, he's not gonna blow his secret identity. He's a platypus in a hat. No one's gonna be able to tell who he is unless he takes the hat off.
Well, that is true. I mean, you have Doofenshmirtz, you can't tell who he is.
Yep. And technically, Doofenshmirtz does know who he is, technically.
Yeah, but the gag hasn't been established yet.
Yeah, he knows where he lives.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. He knows exactly where he lives, Jacob.
Okay.
Yeah, remember the whole sand kicking thing. Remember the whole like I'm going to dump it on my arch enemy's house.
Yeah, but that was yeah, he was talking about Big Black Boots Boris.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, Jacob. You're right. You're right. But you see the confusion there. The fact that he was over, Phineas and Ferb's house.
Yeah, but the entire episode was him trying to get revenge on his.
I know. No, you're right. You're right. I forgot. Okay. You're right, though.
Yeah, Perry's not the one who kicked sand in his face.
True.
Technically, even Doofenshmirtz kicked sand in his own face. Like, even on my sand kicking machine, sand. Like sometimes the platypus wants to bite your skateboard. That's just how it is.
I still think this is a random Phineas and Ferb aside here. I still think one of the funniest just Doofenshmirtz moments was when we do the reveal that it's Barry the Platypus when we're at the evil con and he's like holding like the little teddy bear. He's like, Barry the Platypus.
Like I want to say I know it was you, but I can't because I did.
Yeah.
You gotta love Doofenshmirtz. And of course, the bike doesn't get him very far, so he naturally steals the van. Steals the van after the tornado takes away the water park, leaving basically both Candace and Lulu without evidence.
Yep, and I love that the station manager and Linda are kind of in the same position. The station manager's asking, like, how do you do this every day?
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta wonder, right?
Yep.
It's like, so of course Doofenshmirtz and Perry's still chasing Perry's still chasing Doofenshmirtz on the skateboard. He stops at the red light. That's what you get for being a good guy. You got to stop at the traffic lights. and then, of course,
what does that get him?
He gets caught in his own tornado.
Wah, wah.
Curse you, Perry the Platypus! Even though Perry technically had nothing to do with the defeat at all. If you notice, Doofenshmirtz mainly just brings a lot of that stuff on himself.
He does.
It's a clip. What's it go? Hoist by his own petard?
No, that's it, yeah.
Yep. And that happens a lot to Doofenshmirtz. His petards get hoisted by himself a lot. And of course, Candace brings up the whole formula again with Ferb even saying like, and that is why I'll never wear suspenders in public. Which I mean, I kind of want to know the reason why myself. Do you have any reasons why you shouldn't wear suspenders in public?
Well, here's the thing. I really like suspenders, so I can't really weigh in on that.
Oh, you do? All right.
Yeah, I mean, all the time I don't wear them, but I mean, all the time on Better Call Saul when Howard Hamlin walks in wearing suspenders, I'm always like, every time I see like a fictional character wearing suspenders, it actually looks really good. I was like, man, that guy, like Howard Hamlin in suspenders looks awesome.
Who plays Howard Hamlin again?
Patrick Fabian.
Oh, nice.
I love Patrick Fabian. He's so good in that show. And every time it pops up and things like, for example, there's a whole episode of Lucifer that's dedicated to him. Like he's the guest star, and he's so good in it. It's really funny too because it's like kind of like a milestone episode. I don't know if it's the 100th episode or not. I don't think it is. I think it's just he just shows up, and he's and basically it's like we kind of recap the show up to this point with him, and we kind of check in with him like through these points in the show, and so it's like he was kind of like there the whole time. We never knew it, and then we kind of it's pretty ingenious. And then let's say there's a payoff by the end of the series. It's kind of cool.
Interesting. But apparently, Ferb doesn't agree. He'll never wear suspenders in public.
He doesn't.
Like, which is a shame because he kind of has the body type for it. The tall, lanky, kind of slender type.
Yeah, for sure. No, I could see Ferb wearing suspenders very easily.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's like, so of course, like. Yeah, Candace does actually go for the pie because the pie always sounds good, right?
Yep, pie heals all the wounds.
Yep. And of course, she and Lulu share the pie and kind of bond over that. Like, want some pie? And of course, the episode ends with Doofenshmirtz still in the tornado, and steering into it. And of course, we get to the farmer and his wife. Like, I can't believe he sold our Loopy Bunny farm to buy a van rental place and didn't get a single van. What do you think? A van is going to fall out of the sky?
There's not one word. Yep, that's marriage, kids.
Cut to black. Yep, and don't worry, she's fine. We see them a couple more times throughout the show. Yeah. It's like basically it's so yeah, that takes care of leave the busting to us. So another strong week if you ask me. Dragon.
Yeah. What?
No, say go on. Sorry.
Yes, I mean it was a strong week. I don't know. I think maybe I had a few quibbles. With honestly, I think I had some Candace quibbles all throughout this week, though. But nothing major, nothing killed the episodes. I thought they were good. I think Grease Lightning probably. It's kind of hard to tell because I think Grease Lightning had a lot going for it, had a lot of action, had a lot of spectacle going on there. But then again, Doofenshmirtz was really funny in
leaving
the busting us. Yeah. So I don't know. Then again, though, I mean, I don't need to see Doofenshmirtz keep getting skunked in the face. So I mean, if I had to pick one out of the two, I think I'm going to lean towards Grease Lightning. But
and of course that has Norm in it. Norm.
That's what I'm saying. So I think because Norm kind of clinches it for me. If I had to, kind of cinches it for me. I think it's going to be Grease Lightning.
Yeah. Plus, I think the songs are overall better in that one.
Yeah.
And of course, it has Paul Bunyan's where the food is good.
But not too good, eh?
Yeah.
Love it.
Like they said, gotta love truth in advertising. All right, so that does it for this week then, all right? So thank you all for tuning in. It's like, join us next week on the Phineas and Ferb Recap-inator, where we have where the boys throw a roller derby race and then do nothing. Good night, everybody.
All onions.
Where the food is good.
But not too good.
Too good, eh?